The papal election of 4 to 7 September 1159 followed the death of Pope Adrian IV. It resulted in a double election. A majority of the cardinals elected Cardinal Rolando of Siena as Pope Alexander III, but a minority refused to recognize him and elected their own candidate Ottaviano de Monticelli, who took the name Victor IV, creating a schism which lasted until 1178. The schism was a result of the growing tensions inside the Sacred College of Cardinals concerning the foreign policy of the Holy See. The Papal States in the 12th century were some kind of buffer between two European powers, the Holy Roman Empire and the Norman Kingdom of Sicily. In the period after King Cordat of Worms in 1122, the papacy was allied with Empire rather than with Normans. But during the pontificate of Adrian IV, this alliance had broken up because Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa did not fulfill the terms of the Treaty of Constance that obliged him to help the papacy to restore its authority in Rome, ruled by the Commune, and some other territories of the papal patrimony, which fell under the control of the King of Sicily. In these circumstances, Adrian IV decided to break the alliance with Emperor and to make peace with William I of Sicily by signing the Treaty of Benevento. In the following years there were growing tensions between the papacy and Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa. Frederick tried, with significant success, to strengthen his influence on the Church in Germany. The change of the direction of the papal foreign policy resulted with the division of the Sacred College into supporters and opponents of the new policy, who were unable to achieve a compromise after the death of Adrian IV. The election of 1159 had also significant legal consequences. Up to that time, the election of the new pope required unanimity among the electors, which led to the schism when the existence of factions in the Sacred College made the unanimity impossible. To avoid the schism in the future, Third Lateran Council in 1179 promulgated the Decree Licet de Evitanda Discordia, which established the rule that the Pope is elected with the majority of 2/3 of the cardinals participating in the election. Death of Adrian IV. Pope Adrian IV died on the 1st of September 1159. Fearing a possible schism, shortly before his death he recommended to the cardinals the election of Cardinal Bernard of Porto as his successor. List of participants. There were 31 cardinals in September 1159. One of them seemed not to have participated in the election, leaving the number of 30 electors. 5 electors were created by Pope Innocent II, 2 by Pope Celestine II, 4 by Pope Lucius II, 8 by Pope Eugenius III, and 11 by Pope Adrian IV. Absentee. Divisions in the Sacred College. The College of Cardinals was divided into two factions, the so-called Sicilian Party, led by Chancellor Rolando of Siena and Camerlengo Boso. They supported pro-Sicilian policy of Adrian IV. The opposite imperial faction was led by Ottaviano of Sicilia. It is known that Sicilian Party counted 13 cardinals. They were Chancellor Roland of Marco, Camerlengo Boso of Cosmo e Damiano, Cardinal Bishops Bernard of Porto, Ubaldo of Ostia, Walter of Albano and Gregorio of Sabina, as well as Cardinals Odone of Giorgio, Ubaldo of Croce, Ottone of Nicola, Ardisio of Teodoro, Giovanni of Anastasia, Ildebrando of Apostoli and Pietro of Eustachio. The imperial party may have counted as many as 9 cardinals, but only 6 can be actually identified as its members: Ottaviano of Sicilia, Giovanni of Silvestro e Martino Guido of S. Maria in Trastevere Imar of Tusculum, Raymond of S. Maria in Via Lateran Sim of S. Maria in Dominica Guglielmo of S. Pietro in Vincoli was probably the seventh one. Perhaps Cardinal Cincio of S. Adriano also belonged to this faction. The remaining 10 cardinals were neutral. It is believed that both factions made some preparations to the election in the last months of the pontificate of Adrian IV, although these attempts are known only from the hostile accounts produced for the polemical purposes during the subsequent schism, and it is impossible to verify the factual accuracy. Both sides accused each other of illegal conspiracies. The adherents of Victor IV accused Sicilians of receiving the bribes from the King William I of Sicily and the anti-imperial cities of Brescia, Milan and Piacenza. They ostensibly made an oath not to vote for any candidate outside the circle. On the other hand, Sicilians accused imperialists of hatching a plot with the imperial envoy Otto von Wittelsbach, who was present at Rome at the time of the election and gave the significant support to Victor IV in taking control over the patrimony of St. Peter. It is known that the secular adherents of Cardinal Ottaviano de Monticelli, who was related to the powerful family of the Counts of Tusculum, were prepared for the armed confrontation in Rome. Evidently, neither party was prepared for compromise. Proceedings. Election of Alexander III. The cardinals assembled in the Vatican Basilica on the 4th of September, 3 days after the death of Adrian IV. They had decided that, according to the custom, the election should be unanimous to be valid. It seems that the candidature of Bernard of Porto, recommended by Adrian as acceptable for both factions, had never been even advanced. Both parties put forward candidates mutually unacceptable. The imperial party proposed Ottaviano de Monticelli, while Sicilians proposed Chancellor Rolando. The cardinals discussed for 3 days without achieving a compromise. However, the Sicilian party was able to join all the neutral cardinals and probably detached also some members of the imperial faction. On the 4th day, Cardinal Rolando of Siena was proclaimed pope by them and took the name Alexander III. Although the unanimity had not been achieved and some cardinals still opposed his candidature, according to the Manifest of Alexandrine Party of October 1159 and an account of Cardinal Boso, on the day Rolando received the votes of all cardinals assembled except 3, those of Ottaviano of S. Sicilia, Giovanni of SS, Silvestro e Martino and Guido of S. Maria in Trastevere. Then supporters of Rolando recognized that it seemed inappropriate that the Apostolic See should remain any longer without a ruler because of the contentiousness of the aforesaid men. On the other hand, the opposite party claimed that Ottaviano had still 9 votes, and that the Sicilian party, having majority, simply broke the rule that required unanimity for the valid election. However, the version of the imperial cardinals is believed to be less reliable than the version of the Alexandrine party, even if the latter may be also not fully accurate based on the subscriptions of the manifests of both parties issued shortly after the election. It is possible to assume that at least 23 electors voted for Rolando, and no more than 6 opposed him. Election of Victor IV. The electors of Cardinal Rolando, immediately after proclaiming him pope, attempted to place upon him the purple mantle which symbolized the assumption of the papal office. But then the election entered the tumultuous stage. Cardinal Ottaviano Monticelli snatched the mantle from Alexander's back and his armed bands burst into the basilica. Alexander III and his supporters fled to the citadel of St. Peter, which was in the hands absence of Cardinal Boso. In their absence, the few cardinals who remained in Basilica elected Ottaviano of Sicilia to the papacy and enthroned him as Victor IV. The exact number of his electors is not known, but there are good reasons to believe that it amounted 6, including Ottaviano himself, since only 5 cardinals signed the manifest in his favor in the following month. However, it is possible that some additional cardinals participated in the election of Victor IV but very quickly joined the obedience Alexander III. Consecration of Alexander III. Pope Alexander III remained in the citadel for a week until he was rescued and escorted from Rome by Otto Frangipane, and on September 18 he was eventually bestowed with the purple mantle. On the 20th of September at the small village of Ninfa, southeast of Velletri, he was consecrated Bishop of Rome by Cardinal Ubaldo Lusingoli, Bishop of Ostia e Velletri, and crowned by Cardinal Odone Berncase, Protodeacon of S. Giorgio in Velabro. On the 27th of September he excommunicated Victor IV and his adherents. Consecration of Victor IV. Victor IV was consecrated on the 4th of October in the Abbey of Farfa by Cardinal Bishop Imar of Tusculum, Dean of the Sacred College of Cardinals, assisted by the Bishops Ubaldo of Ferentino and Riccardo of Melfi, with the armed assistance of Otto von Wittelsbach and his own armed groups. In relatively short time he took control over the city of Rome and the patrimony of St. Peter, while Alexander III took refuge in the territory of the Kingdom of Sicily, and later in France. Both rivals, together with their adherents, defended the legality of their elections. In October 1159, cardinals of both obediences produced the manifest to the Emperor Frederick in favor of their elects. The Alexandrine manifest was subscribed by 23 cardinals, while that of Victorine faction only by 5. Supporters of Victor IV, admitting that they were in minority, justified their action by the fact that the opposite faction broke the rule of unanimity and, in consequence, the election of Rolando was invalid. The opposite party claimed that the principle of unanimity had been breached by the obstructive conduct of merely 3 cardinals of the imperial faction, who stubbornly refused to recognize the candidate desired by the rest of the Sacred College. Final division of the Sacred College of Cardinals. In October 1159, Simone Borelli joined the obedience of Alexander III. Already at the end of 1159, Raymond of S. Maria in Violata did the same between February and April 1160. Besides, at the end of 1159 Victor IV created at least 3 new cardinal deacons: Bernard of Ss, Sergio e Bacco, Giovanni of S. Maria in Aquiro and Lando of S. Angelo, while Alexander III appointed on February 18, 1160 Cardinal Deacon Milo of S. Maria in Aquiro. Schism. Both popes sent the legates to the Catholic kingdoms in order to secure the recognition. At the Council of Pavia in February 1160, Emperor Frederick I declared himself in favor of Victor IV, and the episcopate of the empire followed him, with the significant exception of Archbishop of Salzburg Eberhard Ivan Hilpol Steinbeiberg and his suffragans. King Valdemar I of Denmark also gave his support to Victor IV, but the primate of Denmark, Archbishop Eskil of Lund, became partisan of Alexander III. It seems that Poland also supported Victor IV. The rest of Europe, namely France, England, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Scotland, Hungary, Sicily and the Latin territories in Outremer, recognized Alexander III as true pope, even if in some of these countries there were significant Victorine minorities in episcopates or among feudal rulers. The papal schism in Europe was now a fact. The unity of the Church had been restored only after 18 years, when Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa and Pope Alexander III signed a Treaty of Venice. Shortly thereafter, the pro-imperial Pope Callistus III abandoned his claims to the papacy and submitted to Alexander III. Victor IV and his successors Pascal III and Callistus III are now regarded as anti-popes by the Catholic Church, while Alexander III is recognized as legitimate successor of St. Peter the Apostle. Aftermath. The election of 1159 and the subsequent schism shows the necessity of amending the rules concerning papal elections. The Decret Licet de Evitanda Discordia issued by the Third Lateran Council in 1179 abolished the rule of unanimity in favor of the rule of the majority of two-thirds. The decree confirmed also that all three orders of the College of Cardinals are equal in the papal elections, although the practice allowing the participation of cardinal priests and cardinal deacons on equal rights with cardinal bishops had been introduced, no later than in the papal election. 1118, the decree in nomine Domini conferring the special electoral rights on the cardinal bishops had never been formally revoked up to the time.